Welcome back to Hey Miss Kelda. This is Kelda Lane Poynott, author and educator. Today's question is, how do you balance home and school? Well, for me, I established early on routines of morning activities, afternoon activities, things that we just did through the cycles of the day, whether it was schoolwork or whether it was playtime or whether it was other scheduled activities or lessons or things that my children did. So I set routines during the week and during the times of the year so that it was predictable. And I think that that created a good balance because we are wearing numerous hats as the homeschooling parent. And so I needed to take off my teacher hat and put on my mom hat. And I needed to not let school completely dictate our lives. I needed to not let it overshadow everything else that we did. It was a piece of what we did, it was a part of what we did, and I needed it to not be a threat or a constant punishment when tasks weren't completed. So if we were having a just an off day, that was one thing. But if we saw a pattern, especially with a particular subject, then we needed to address that subject. Maybe we needed a different curriculum. Maybe we needed a different approach based on my child's learning style. Um, Maybe we also needed something that would be a little more stimulating or a little more challenging for them. So it's sometimes a process to not let school be an issue constantly. Um, if it's a behavior issue, then that falls into the parenting realm and not in the homeschooling realm. So you probably need to establish some parenting parameters more than you need to establish homeschooling parameters. So I would encourage you to not let school be everything in your day. Not Yes, it's a focus. Yes, it's a priority, but it's not everything of your life. So it's a piece. And so having those routines and not letting school be the end all be all of everything, especially if this is new to you and you're like, this is my new job and I need to take it seriously and you need to take it seriously. And or you're suddenly having an elementary age child who's had a lot of freedom and now you're trying to wrangle in with more of a rigid schedule. We need to ease into that. We need to find that routine for them with them. And also schedule breaks. I think that was the best way for us to balance home and school is to schedule breaks. So in the fall, we might not start school, extend our summer out a little bit, not start school until after Labor Day. Then we would probably end by Memorial Day unless we had some other subjects that lingered into the summer. Math typically did for us. We did that mostly year round. Reading, of course, we did year round. But to have those scheduled breaks to say, we're going to plan our family vacation maybe after Christmas and extend, the typical 2 weeks off for the holiday into 3 weeks. Or if dad was traveling for work, we would incorporate a family trip into that time too. If it's a downtime or a time when, um, we have the flexibility. So when we lived in other climates where fall was gorgeous and easy and we would finally have a break from the heat of the summer, we would take an entire month off. Or after having a baby, we would take those 6 weeks off and plan that into my school year so that we had things to anticipate. So that we could have when are we just a family and when are we, I mean, I guess we never lost the identity of a homeschooling family because we were learning all the time. We just had that mentality. And it was just nice to have those times when I didn't feel like I had to be on with school and they could just have their time as being a kid off of school. So that's how we balanced home and school. We set routines. We had scheduled breaks, and we didn't let school dictate our everyday all day long. All right. If you would like to find me, I am at keldalanepoynott.com. There you can find links to my workshops on Patreon. You can also find all of my published works, links through Audible and Kindle and Amazon. And please like my YouTube channel and subscribe and share with your friends. Have a great day.